Hey, what's going on, guys? This is AndrewChicken, and welcome back to another video. Today we have yet another update to the patch notes of the Season 6 Emergence update. So there's a lot of very spicy balance, and there's also a few announcements which are shocking to say the least. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So up first, we have a very brief announcement for the Trials of the Realm that has pretty major implications. So let's just read it out. We are reevaluating the Trials system, so we will not be releasing Trials for 23.1, which is the update that this is, but stay tuned for further announcements. So there's not going to be Trials at the start of Season 6. None. Zilch. They're gone. No more Trials. But it doesn't seem like it's going to be a permanent removal in the sense that, like, oh, this feature is just gone now forever. I guess they're reworking them somehow. I'm not really sure what their plans are for it, but yeah, at least for this first update, no more trials. And honestly, it is kind of a shame because even though some of the trials were pretty bad, like either they were ridiculously easy, like way too easy and just boring, or they were ridiculously hard and just a chore to complete, and people ended up going to bot matches. There were always those quests, but of course, still at the end of the day, I think it was a fun thing to at least have some quests, have an excuse, of course, to play champions I don't play that often either. And yeah, I guess I will miss them. Wednesday streams are going to be a lot more boring now. But yeah, Trials of the Realm are not going to be making it into Season 6, at least not at the start. They'll probably be back in a future update. Next up, we have some general updates, which basically just include explanations for things which we already knew were coming, like with this UI overhaul. So, with the UI overhaul, the goal was to make the inventory easier to view and equip between the profile and the store. All game accessories are now split. What you own is in the profile, while stuff you do not own can be found in the store. The player profile has also been cleaned up with less info hidden behind a pop-up, and by reorganizing how the tabs are organized. For example, you will now find match history as the first tab in your profile under the players section. So yeah, the UI overhaul, of course, is something that people have mixed opinions about. Some people think, oh yeah, it is actually pretty helpful, it's pretty cool, okay, nice. Some people don't like it. They think it looks sloppy. Think it looks like a mobile game, and yeah, I mean, it's a mixed bag. Certainly, I think it probably could look a little bit better. Like, I feel like especially the buttons on the very top of the screen kind of got downgraded. Even though they are bigger, which is very nice, I don't think they look as good. But yeah, there are definitely some things here that I think are good. Next up, we've updated the landing page of the store. Now when you open the store under the daily deal, a mixture of items will appear to help promote more items to the players. Our art team makes a lot of cool things that have always been hard to find unless you know where to find them, and this should help surface content. So this is more something for the devs, I think, than it is for the players. Obviously, I guess it'll be nice to kind of see more cosmetics in the store, but I mean, ultimately, it helps them sell more stuff. It's not like it's not as big of a deal as this first UI overhaul. But the last one is probably the most controversial of the bunch, and this is regarding removing splash art in the loading screens. So we have removed splash art for skins to help with the visual clarity of the game. This change makes it easier to identify which skin you're picking in the match lobby, as well as what champions you are going against while in the loading screen. Unifying the look of these to appear more consistent to the in-game presentation will make the game easier to approach. We are looking at ways to incorporate the splash arts into the game as in an alternate way. So, yeah, this is by far the most controversial change. And obviously we've kind of seen this already. If you've been watching any of my recent content in the past, like, week, then yeah, you've probably noticed this change. And yeah, it's another one where it's a very mixed bag. Obviously, the splash arts, a lot of them looked really cool. Even splash arts like default characters like Yagaroth and Vor, they look amazing. And so it's a shame to see this art kind of just disappear. I'm not sure what they're going to do to incorporate these splash arts into the game in an alternate way, but effectively these are gone, or at least they're not going to be nearly as present in the game as they used to be. So yeah, this is obviously the very big negative, but there are some positives, and I think it certainly does actually achieve the goal of making it easier to identify the skin you're picking. I've noticed this, especially when it comes to champions who have a lot of skins, like Tyra or Ceres. I was like choosing a skin on the PTS, and I was like, oh, yeah, no, I can actually find that faster. Wait, no, that's actually, oh, Oh, I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised. I think it does actually help achieve that goal, and I think that having visual clarity in a game such as this, which has literally thousands of skins and half 100 characters, I think that's a good thing. And I think, well, I mean, I think the current pictures they have with that weird bluish building background, I think they could be polished up a little bit more. Like maybe the posing could be a little bit better, or the lighting could be a little bit better. And one thing that really, really frustrates me is that some of the characters just flat out aren't centered, and I think that looks pretty bad. But I think they can make this change work. And also another thing to keep in mind is, sadly, whether we like it or not, the team is getting smaller. Thunderbrush is leaving because of health reasons. Karo is getting moved to Smite, and the team is the smallest it's ever been. And so, making this change will make it so that, ultimately, more resources get allocated towards stuff that is far more important than splash arts. Because at the end of the day, the splash art is definitely not the most important thing that needs addressing, not just for, the game, but for the art team in particular. It's probably best that the effort that they spend goes towards actually making the skins themselves look and function well. So there is kind of a good thing there for the team anyways, although it is bittersweet because, well, why can't we just give the team the proper resources they need? You know? Yeah, very, very, very controversial change. We'll just leave it at that. Anyways, it just keeps getting worse. The bounty store is the next step on the docket, and it's also gone. God, this update. How are we gonna get payload and air strafing in the same update as like a bunch of stuff is getting removed that's actually kind of cool? I don't know, man, but the bounty store and the marketplace are closing as a part of Season 6. Bounty skins you own will be kept, and any leftover bounty coins and duplicate skins will be rewarded as we transition. More info on specifics coming soon. Why are they getting rid of the bounty store? I have no idea. If I had to guess, it's probably because they aren't making enough money. And the bounty store is free skins. And so, what do you do to make more money? Well, get rid of the free skins and make people buy them. I mean, it sucks as a player to not be able to get these free skins anymore, but also, I mean, well, I guess it kind of makes sense. Another one of those bittersweet things where, like, I guess it kind of makes sense as the developers. How could they afford to give these skins for free in the first place? But also, like, yeah, it's not really that good for us, the players, is it? So yeah, a lot of very controversial and mixed bag and bittersweet changes coming in these general updates. Ooh. Yeah, let's move on. Let's scroll by the Inventor Pip skin to give us hope, and let's go check out the balance, because the balance is not nearly as as down and as sad. There's actually some very interesting stuff here. So first of all, you'll notice, well, A, it's been cleaned up a little bit. B, some of the item balance is just gone now. So I guess they're going back on the changes to Master Riding and Nimble. If you recall, in the last update notes video I did, Nimble, for some reason, was getting buffed, even though it's already one of the best items you can buy, and Master Riding was getting nerfed to compensate for remounting being added to the game. But now, there's not even a mention of remounting. So it looks like Thunderbrush was right. It's not shipping at all. The patch notes said it was shipping in payload only, but no, it's not coming into the game. Thank goodness, because that was such a bad change. So yeah, glad we nipped that in the bud. Now the only item changes are Guardian is getting buffed to 30% at max, and Kill to Heal is getting nerfed to 600 at max, which both are good changes. Ultimately, I think Guardian should get reworked, but if it is going to stay in the game, then at least make it a bit more effective. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. Next up, we did go over the healer shifts in the last video, although we do actually have numbers on some of these now. But we can read, I guess, kind of the thought process behind this from the devs. The core of the dual support meta issue seems to be that certain healers are too good at both healing and damage dealing. The intent of these changes is to make the most frequent offenders among supports choose either one or the other, while still allowing players to lean into their existing preference of playstyles. Ugh. Dude, double support meta was like it was months ago. It's not like nearly as prevalent now. Why is now when you're addressing this? This isn't even as much of a problem anymore, the whole double support thing, but also, oh god, the more I think about these changes and the more I've actually, like, experimented with these changes, the more they depress me. Let's fix double support meta, they said, after double support meta was already waning out of the meta, by making keywords that are going to make double support meta more prevalent. Ooh, Furia Exterminate. Ooh, Grok Maelstrom. Ooh, let's pair those with Ray or something. I don't know. Ooh, I'm sad. I don't like this whole keyword thing. I have much stronger opinions on this than I did the last video. I don't think this is the right way to balance. It feels like they're trying to put a band-aid fix on just all these healers by like trying to put this unified change on these guys instead of making more precise and fine-tuned changes that are actually tailored to the specific supports. So you get changes like Pip doing 598 damage per second on Mega Potion, which is just absurd. And then also Combat Medic, it does 570 DPS now to compensate for the fact that you're giving 5% extra damage to Mega Potion to return Mega Potion to basically its default damage that he does already, ruining Pip's damage combo for his ultimate because you can't use 2 shots and a catalyst to kill a chicken now. It's all so frustrating. I am not a fan of this. Officially, that's my stance now. I'm not a fan of this. I have much stronger opinions on that from my last video. So yeah, this is real quick. I'm gonna scroll past a lot of these balance changes. Just close your eyes and pretend like I haven't scrolled past them yet. Pretend like you haven't seen them, okay? It's fine. We can look at the numbers that they've done to nerf these supports to compensate for the new keywords that they're getting. So Furia now does 320 damage every half a second on Pyreblade instead of 330. But this is actually higher on Exterminate than the base 330 damage, so this is overall a buff to Exterminate, but also a nerf to Cherish, and a nerf to Solar Blessing. I guess it's not really a nerf to Cherish, because Cherish gets 5% as well. Whatever. Yeah, Furia damage nerfed. Woo. Pyre Strike, instead of nerfing the raw damage it does per tick, they've just nerfed the tick rate, so now it does damage every 0.07 seconds instead of 0.05 seconds. But again, Exterminate makes it do 10% more damage, so whoop-de-doo, yay, I guess Exterminate is stronger. And then Kindle Soul, by far the hardest hitting nerf to Furia, that also completely just does weirdness to Cherish. 850 is the burst now instead of 1,000, and then you heal an additional 340 over 2 seconds instead of 400 health. So this is a very heavy-hitting nerf. And then Inflame is getting nerfed. Now this is a nerf that honestly could make it in regardless of these keywords, because Inflame is one of the strongest, if not the strongest ults in the game. The effect now lasts 7 seconds instead of 8 seconds. Okay, you don't want to nerf the potency, you want to nerf the duration? Fair enough. This is like literally the only change that I'm actually okay with Furia. The rest of this, just with the keywords as well, you're buffing Exterminate, which is just an infuriating talent for a lot of people to play against. And then Cherish is just like, there's no point in picking that now because of these keywords. Because Solar Blessing does 20% extra healing on the right click. Cherish does 18% on the right click, but then gets 10% more, but the 18% scales with their health, so if they're at like 50% health, then they're getting 19% extra healing from the right click. It's just a mess. And this mess is created by them trying to put these unified keywords on the supports instead of just fine-tuning the supports individually. I think there should be individual balance changes, not these sweeping keywords. That's my stance. Grok now, we can take a look at the numbers. Only 2 numbers, which in a vacuum look really stupid, but to keep in mind, again, there are keywords to make these stronger. So Lightning Staff now deals 65 damage instead of 70, meaning that Spirit's Domain is going to be doing even less damage now. Totemic Ward, I think, will probably bring it back around to the 70 range, but then Maelstrom, bear in mind, buffs the damage back up to 70 before the passive takes place, which is 10% extra damage on top of that. So his base damage is now 65, but then Maelstrom takes it to 70, and then the 10% keyword comes in, making it start at 77 damage, which is higher than it's ever been, because previously it was 75. So Maelstrom is actually stronger now, because keep in mind the shock pulses also do 10% damage, and the shock pulses haven't been nerfed. So they do 165 damage now. Healing Totem is nerfed to just an absurd 256 healing per second. What's with all these weird numbers? 256 healing per second, 598 damage per second. I am in pain. Grover did in fact get nerfed. I thought Ferocity did a little bit less damage. Turns out I was right. So the scaling on the damage is now 650 at max range instead of 750, which is a pretty heavy nerf. Blossom has also been nerfed, so 5 less healing per second on the passive, and then the burst has gone from 650 down to 600. But again, bear in mind, Rampant Blooming will allow you to heal for 20% more. So, yeah. Yay! And then let's take a look at Pip. Again, don't look at the other, don't look at the balance changes. Okay, we'll talk about that later. Pip, yeah, Potion Launcher does 570 damage now. Combat Medic is ruined in terms of the ultimate combo, but it now does 900 healing per potion, so I guess that's a thing. And then Explosive Flask does 5 damage less for some reason, because apparently Explosive Flask just does way too much damage. They had to nip that in the bud. They had to nerf Explosive Flask, but not nerf Shock Pulse, which now does 165 damage on each bounce with Maelstrom. Don't do these sweeping balance changes with these keywords. Tweak the supports individually. Like every other champion. This is just completely demolishing the balance of these 4 poor supports who, yeah, they're just a mess now. At least I can play Maldamba still, but Pip and Grok, those are 2 of my favorite characters in the support class. It's not gonna be that much fun to play the next patch. Oh boy. Anyways, finally now we can officially stop being sad. I really need to play a payload match after this, man. Let's talk about the rest of the balance changes, which are extraordinarily spicy. And they're going to be interesting to play with, to say the least. These are some huge, huge buffs to a lot of tanks, which is weird, because I always thought, hey, the tank class is pretty darn strong. You got Ruckus, Rom, you got freaking Atlas, who's a monster in the right hands. Heck, even Torvald can do okay. And then you got Barrick, Fernando, and Nara as your classic point tanks. You got freaking Azan. But a lot of these tanks are getting buffed. So Atlas base health is just getting a whopping 500 increase from 3,500 to 4,000. Oh man. I remember when they buffed Barrick's base health to 4,000. That was a scary time. I don't know if we're going to see some sort of weird Atlas meta. Probably not. He's significantly harder than Barrick. You probably still won't see anybody play Atlas outside of people who really like Atlas. But this is a very scary buff, and yeah, Big Daddy Atlas and other Atlas players are going to be very, very scary next patch. Azan, we've already covered this. Tempering is getting buffed. The cooldown increase is going to 25% instead of 50%, so you can use Tempering way more now. Barrick is getting a buff to Tinkerin, and it's a massive, massive buff. Tinkerin will now do 660 damage instead of 550. Bear in mind, base Blunderbuss does 500. So not only are you getting way better damage at range, even if the damage was still 500, you would have way better damage at range, but you're getting significantly better base damage than his base Blunderbuss with this talent in close quarters. So if you headshot, you're still technically going to do more damage with Tinkerin, right? 750 is greater than 660. But most of the time you're not headshotting, and especially against characters like Rom, Inara, who can be kind of hard to headshot. Well, maybe not Inara, but Rom, characters like that. Yeah, this is actually going to be a very substantial buff to Barrick's base DPS. You can combine those with the turrets, and It's pretty terrifying. This is a very good weapon now. You might see much more tinkering played, because, yeah, this is very good damage, not just for range, but also for, yeah, for close quarters as well now. It's a substantial DPS increase. Fat Cassie is back, it looks like. This is a very similar damage number to Cassie's damage per shot. Obviously, he fires a bit slower, but, yeah, all right, well, I like tinkering, so... Goodness, it's just crazy to see such a big buff just out of nowhere. But yeah. Next up, we have Fernando, who is one of the only tanks getting nerfed this patch. Aegis is getting its shield health reduced from 5,200 down to 4,900. And yeah, nothing much else more to really be said there. Apart from, I really wish Aegis would be put into base kit, but in like a nerfed fashion. So, like, what if Fernando was able to toggle his shield on every talent, but only with Aegis would it regenerate while active, kind of like a Leon's shield thing. Like, maybe we have a 4,000 shield at base that can be toggled at any time, does not regenerate while active, but regenerates while not active. And then you can pick Aegis, get a 5,000 shield that regenerates while active. Maybe we can make Scorch and Formidable actually viable in spite of Aegis, maybe? That's just my hot balanced take of the day. But yeah, Fernando Aegis getting nerfed. Next up, we have some monster buffs for Inara. Like, truly, what is this? Now, this first change is actually something I really wanted for Inara. I kind of suggested it. I don't remember if it was on stream or in a private server or something, and I don't remember who I was even talking to, but I know I've had this idea for a while that, hey, maybe Stone Spear shouldn't slow Inara. That'd be an interesting buff to kind of give her. You know, make her a little bit more viable as like a sort of damagey tank thing. And yeah, the self-slow is removed now. So now, as Inara, you can hold W and shoot, and that's just how it is with every other tank now. So you don't have that that penalty. Which means now I think Rom and Ruckus are the only ones who slow themselves, unless I'm forgetting something. But yeah, that's a pretty darn good buff for Inara, especially with Treacherous Ground, because now you can hold W at people with Nimble, and yeah, just pew 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 pew. Oh, I'm finally close to them. Put down the Treacherous Ground. Pew 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 pew. And yeah, they fall over. And also, oh, let me put down Treacherous Ground, but also put up my Earthen Guard, and now my Earthen Guard, guess what? Does 35% damage reduction now instead of 30%. Okay, that's pretty disgusting. Wow. All right. And then Mother's Grace, on top of that, is getting a further 5% damage reduction increase, so from 10 to 15. So you add these two together, that is 50% damage reduction on Mother's Grace now. We are entering Yaggaroth hardening territory, but on Inara, a character who can move and also gets increased healing while she's using Earthen Guard, and who also has a slow. These are some monster buffs for Inara. These are tremendous buffs. Not just for, yeah, Mother's Grace, but also for Treacherous Ground because of the removed slow and the base damage reduction increase. Tremors is still going to be a very weird playstyle, and still the worst of the three. But yeah, the Inara is going to be even more prevalent in the meta now, which is, yeah, very interesting. Next up, Kasumi. So her yokai doll will now require a target before it can be fired. I know I covered this in one of my recent videos, and yeah, that's the only change we know about for Kasumi, and that's the only change listed here. And yay! Let's make Kasumi harder, because she is the easiest character in the game right now. Thank you. Next up, Rom. God, this is a long time coming. I have no idea why Subservience stayed like this for so long at 2%, but it's finally getting nerfed. 2% max health per soul. Very consistent heal. That heals all characters globally on the map, and then you can also do a burst heal with it with Rom's ability, like some sort of monstrous 10,000 HP Grover. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. But this is 1.5% now instead of 2%, so you still have the global percent base heal, but it's just less now. So Rom is no longer a main healer. I mean, if you're playing him as a true main healer, that's not good. But as an off support, oh yes, I'll take a 10,000 health off support on my team, please. Jeez. Yeah, jeez, I can't believe this didn't happen earlier, honestly. But hey, good, it's finally happening. Sky! Yeah, let's go. Sky's getting buffed in Season 6. What is it? What is it? Oh, it's 1 second cooldown reduction on hidden. That's it. That's it. You know how I made a video talking about how she needs a full rework and giving suggestions for the rework? Yeah, there's no rework. This is... I mean, I'm not going to complain because I think the cooldown of hidden is way too long. But, come on, where's my Sky rework? Ah, I'm sad. No more sadness, though, because, and this is especially exciting for me, Torvald. Ooh, Torvald. Boys, we might be entering a Torvald meta, and I am very much looking forward to it. So Torvald now has his shield cap increase from 2,000 to 3,000, 50% increase. And also recharge has been increased to compensate it, so it will now give 3,000 shielding. So Torvald now has 3,000 base health, 3,000 shield health, with a 750 health card. So he can have 6,750 effective hit points. Obviously that goes down when the enemies buy Wrecker, but at the start of the game especially, oh my goodness, that is a lot of health for somebody who doesn't have to slow himself or isn't handicapped in some way. Yagharoth has less health than Torvald? Yagharoth has less health than Torvald, admittedly more damage reduction, but less health than Torvald, and she has to stand still. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so Torvald has 800 DPS and now has basically 6,750 health if you build him the way you're supposed to. And yeah, also you can just pop recharge at any time to instantly, within the span of 1 second, get 3,000 health back. Which, most people, fun fact, do not do 3,000 damage per second. In fact, among the highest are around, 14, 1,500. So, yeah, that's a lot of tankiness for our boy, Torvald. And also, bear in mind, he has an auto-aim nullify, which with direct current has some pretty good range. So Torvald is a character who can pocket Buck and or any other flank, but also protect his backline from flanks by nullifying them, and also is now a very powerful duelist in his own right, even more so than he was before, because now he has an extra 1,000 hit points with his shield, but then also, now instead of regenerating 2,000 health basically instantly, regenerates 3,000 health basically instantly. Mega buff for Torvald. I think now, believe it or not, Torvald beats Rom in a 1v1. Like, just flat out. In a vacuum, anyways, where Rom doesn't have Wrecker and there aren't teammates, just pitching in and blah, blah, blah. Because if you think about it, Rom has to get soul fragments to sustain himself and make his health pool so big. But he can't get those soul fragments off of a shield. Torvald has a 3,000 health personal shield, so, Rom, after a few seconds, will burst down that shield. Torvald just regenerates it back up. Boom, there's another 3,000 shielding. So that's 6,000 total shield hit points that Rom has to burn through before he can finally start to regenerate. Both of them do the same DPS. Rom a little bit higher if he hits headshots, but still. So, by the time Rom is done burning through Torvald's 6,000 shield health and not regenerating, apart from maybe using his soul harvest, Torvald, in that same amount of time, will have also done around 6,000 damage. At base, Rom only has 4,500 health or something like that? I think Torvald wins that. The OG Juggernaut is back. And I am very excited to play Torvald next patch. This is a huge change. Also, we can buy buffed Guardian on Torvald if we really want to, but Guardian is still crap, and obviously Wrecker is still going to shut this down very hard. But without Wrecker, or if you have a bad Wrecker on your team anyways, like someone who doesn't have high single target damage like that, oh my god, it's beautiful. So yeah, mega Torvald buff. 7 is getting a burst mode nerf. So 155 damage per shot is going down to 150 per shot. Yeah, understandable. Can kind of see this coming, considering that, yeah, I mean, well, with the air strafing and the removal of mid-air inaccuracy, he's actually very scary on the PTS. So I definitely expected some nerfs to come his way to compensate for the fact that his mobility is now somehow even better. It just keeps getting better. It's crazy. So yeah, fair enough. I don't think this is too much at all. I think this is just fine, because, I mean, you guys have seen my videos on it. Oh, it feels so good. It feels so good. And then, yeah, we've already talked about the Ying change, so nothing really to see there. There is also one more bug fix listed down here under Ray. Fixed an issue where Ray's chain heal wouldn't bounce properly between allies. This is a very big deal for Ray players, if it is indeed totally fixed. And this issue was caused by last patch's buff to the projectile's speed, and this buff has been reverted as we investigate the issue further. So it seems like they're really trying to look into this chain heal, which is very, very good for Ray players, because I know it's something very frustrating when your heals just decide, oh, I'm not going to bounce. I'm not going to target anybody. They're gone. So that's very, very good. And hey, if it's fixed, maybe extension finally won't be a throw pick. Why does extension only increase the range? Can't it do anything else? It's so... just play focus. Continue to just play focus. But yes, that's a very good bug fix for Ray, if indeed it actually does get fixed. So yeah, ooh, what a doozy of a video we've had here. We have, yeah, UI overhaul, bounty store removed, Trials of the Realm removed, at least temporarily. All right, temporarily, that's the key word there, temporarily. And yeah, obviously still some very questionable support changes, but oh my god, these tanks are about to be crazy. And Torvald, whoo! Oh, Torvald, baby, I am so excited. So yeah, if you guys have enjoyed this video and you found it informative, please, of course, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload from me. If the PTS comes out yet again, because it was offline at the time of recording this, then I will be streaming it over on Twitch, so make sure you follow me over there. Link is in the description, as well as join the Discord server. You can find people to party up with and hang out with, and it's a great place to be. So with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you all next time. Peace out.